you are tuned in to TWID Radio. If you haven't been told or just didn't know, TWID stands for that's what I do. And as long as you're breathing, I guarantee you're doing something. We're bringing you the real, raw, the relevant tackling news, dating, marriage, sports, and more. This is where the Black community connects, grows, and thrives. That's what we do in our tribe, circles, and communities. So hit that subscribe button and join the TWID revolution today. Good evening, family. Once again, you are tuned in to TWID Radio. Family, let's get into it. The title is, now get this. This is the irony. White African says abolishing apartheid was a mistake. Now, I'm going to let him talk and say, now, this is the audacity of these people. A white African. You know what that means. That means he's a white man who migrated, who ran over to an African Black continent and decided, I'm going to set up shop, I'm going to colonize, and I'm going to pillage, plunder, and steal and kill to own what belongs to you. But now, in 2025, this same white African, or the descendants of, is saying apartheid was a mistake. I know y'all know what apartheid is, right? I know you know what apartheid is, but in case you don't, in case you forgot, or in case you just haven't did your history, racial segregation, specifically a formal policy of segregation and political, social, and economic discrimination against the non-white majority in the Republic of South Africa. Note, the extreme racial segregation of apartheid lasted from 1948 to 1994 and included such restrictions as where people of certain races could live or own land, what jobs they could hold, and you pretty much was a slave in your own country. But if you think that he didn't say this, he said it. Let's check him out.
Stu Peters Show. I'm Lily Gaddis. I'm guest hosting for Stu while he's away at an event. But don't worry, we got a great show for you planned, so stay tuned. We're going to be speaking about white replacement and the genocide against white people. We're going to be speaking with Johannes Achenbach. He is an Afrikaner, white farmer in South Africa. He's witnessed everything that's going on there, and he's going to be able to give us some good insights into the plight of the farmers there, stuff that you're not going to hear on the mainstream media at all, stuff you might not even hear on X as well, because it's, you know, like every other platform is Jewish controlled and operated, and you cannot talk about certain things. But we are going to get all that and more when we are joined by Johannes. We're going to talk about white replacement and the genocide that's been going on in South Africa, as well as Israel's involvement there and Jewish involvement in South Africa, and why apartheid has been completely misrepresented to us, much like other events in history, and why South Africa is actually the white man's country. Unlike the United States, unlike Americans, because we...
So as you can see, this nasty white woman is saying how actually South Africa is the white man's country. Like I said, the audacity of these people. The audacity. Let's hear that again. Let's hear her say that again, just to make sure we put things in context.
Give us some good insights into the plight of the farmers there, stuff that you're not going to hear on the mainstream media at all, stuff you might not even hear on X as well, because it's, you know, like every other platform is Jewish controlled and operated, and you cannot talk about certain things. But we are going to get all that and more when we are joined by Johannes. We're going to talk about white replacement and the genocide that's been going on in South Africa, as well as Israel's involvement there and Jewish involvement in South Africa, and why apartheid has been completely misrepresented to us, much like...
Now, she said that apartheid has been misrepresented to us. No, ma'am, it hasn't been misrepresented. Apartheid is what it was. Segregation. Apartheid was what it is. slavery. That's all. In the 20th century, that's all it was, slavery. But here she'll come on, you know what I'm saying, with her, bad face. Just look at her. They're always ugly when they talk like this. They're always the ugly ones. Like the Laura Ingram. Look at her. They all look the same. The audacity, though. Yeah.
Like other events in history, and why South Africa is actually the white man's country. Unlike the United States, unlike Americans, because through Jewish subversion, we have had this nationalist sense beaten out of us. We don't really have a sense of nationalism anymore. We don't have a sense of white identity. We do not identify with our white brothers and sisters. And that's why we can let something like what is going on in South Africa just be swept under the rug because we don't really care. That's another country. Why does it pertain to us? Well, it very much does pertain to us. So let's welcome Johannes to the Stu Peters Show. Hello, Johannes. Thank you so much for coming on. Welcome to the Stu Peters Show. How are you doing today?
Hey, Lily, I'm doing fine. Thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so glad to have you here. I feel so sorry for, everything you guys have been through, the African farmers in South Africa for years. Thankfully, it's starting to get media attention. Maybe that's because of Trump, coming out with that statement and offering asylum status for refugees from South Africa. What do you think of Trump's statements about South African farmers and encouraging you guys to move here and essentially leave your land?
Well, thank you very much. And I do believe you're correct in saying so. There's been many attempts by my people to raise international awareness. There's been a couple of documentaries by Lauren Southern, Katie Hopkins. But I think that this is by far the biggest coverage that the issue has received. Mm-hmm. And why I think it's also an opportune time for us to speak out,
right.
As South Africa.
Now, family, look at the picture. Look at the picture. These are white people in Africa who are the descendants of white people who went over, raped, robbed, and pillaged. And they have the audacity to say now that because the descendants of the ones who were enslaved, who went through apartheid, are now up and running things, that it's not fair for them. Never mind that what you did was come over and take land that was not yours. What they're saying is it's unfair that a wrong has been corrected. It doesn't get any more diabolical than this right here. It just doesn't. But let's finish, checking them out.
Africa, well and truly, is the canary in the coal mine for all white countries around the world. Mm-hmm. In terms of what do I think the outcomes will be, I can tell you the general feeling of my people. And it is, at this time, there is a split. I won't say down the middle. The majority of Afrikaners want to stay in South Africa. They do not want to leave this country because it is theirs. They have no...
You see, he says they don't want to leave this country because it's theirs. See, that's the mindset of, a lot of white people. If I took it, forget about whether or not I stole it. Forget about whether or not I spilled blood. Forget about any of that. When you're dealing with a lot of these white people, in their minds, if I took it, it's mine. And this is what this white African man is saying. It's not fair that I was able to take it, and now the black people who the land belongs to, now that they're taking it back, that it's theirs. No, he's basically saying no, it's mine forever, regardless as to how I got it. It's mine. But let's hear him say this.
No desire whatsoever to repatriate, or not repatriate, to leave our country and to immigrate to America. But then there are many Afrikaners that are severely impoverished and find it very hard to find opportunity, especially the young men. As I
now keep in mind, He's complaining about finding it hard to find opportunity in Africa. The audacity of this white man, he's trying to raise the alarm as to the suffering that he's going through as a white African. Never mind, let's finish hearing what he's about to say, because he's about to say apartheid really, you know what I'm saying? Let's watch what he says about apartheid.
I don't know if you know, but in the H2B, under the H2B visa, there's a lot of young white Afrikaners that are working in the farming sector in America. And I think especially those guys might consider leaving, but that's not the sentiment that you get on the ground. Mm-hmm. What is our aspirations in terms of politics, and what is our hopes? What do we wish to achieve by this? Or myself, us as a movement, and the Afrikaner people, I do believe that we wish for the veil of lies to be lifted after 30 years of ANC rule. We want the world to know that abolishing apartheid was a mistake.
Now you heard it out of his mouth. This white man said he wants the people to know that abolishing apartheid was a mistake. That's what he's saying. Abolishing apartheid was a mistake. So in his mind, allowing racial segregation, when he says abolishing segregation or abolishing apartheid was a mistake, he's basically saying, hey, I'm a white man in South Africa, and I don't have the privileges that I once had when Nelson Mandela was serving 27 years, in prison due to apartheid. Let's listen to what this clown has to say. The audacity of it, because he's in Africa saying this. Mind you, he's in Africa.
That the so-called atrocities that were committed were fabricated lies, and really white people were the disenfranchised. And the only land theft that is taking place in South Africa is the theft of white farmers. White farmers are having their, or the Afrikaner people as a nation are having their fatherland stolen from them. And I think it is time that truth prevails, and that men of courage stand up and speak up and say that, even though there will be backlash, because the conditioning of the world has been such that people believe the narrative that has been spinned around South Africa. But I hope.
So this man is basically saying the narrative of South Africa, the narrative of Nelson Mandela having to serve, plus some more of his brothers serving almost 30 years in prison, that was not true. It didn't happen. This is what this white man is trying to say. He's trying to say that apartheid didn't happen. He's really trying to, that's like Rush Limbaugh or any of the other white people in America saying chattel slavery never happened to the Negro. And they'll say it. Mind you, they will say it. But the audacity of them to just now say it in 2025, where we're living in the information highway, where all I got to do is Google it. All I got to do is see the pictures. And they'll still, so you're telling me that this didn't happen to the Negro? Pictures like this are pictures that we can get from South Africa during apartheid, white man. But they don't see, when it comes to lying, it's nothing for them. That's just their nature to lie. It's just a nature.
Through this message, to provide a different side of history, a different side to Nelson Mandela, which, by the way, was a recognized terrorist up until 2008.
You see? He said that Nelson Mandela was a recognized terrorist up until 2008. Of course he was a recognized terrorist. He was a recognized terrorist because he was under an apartheid regime. British colonialism, your people. So of course they recognized him as a terrorist, just like they recognized over here the Black Panther Party as a terrorist, even though they established WIC. women, infants, and children, even though they were about feeding their community. See, if it doesn't go white people's way, the narrative is going to be you are a threat to democracy. But the democracy that they're talking about is the democracy for white lives, white people, white benefactors. So yes, I agree with the African, community. Kick them out, kick them out. Go back to Europe where you come from, because if you go to Europe, which is predominantly majority white, you're not going to have black people running things, running the resources, owning the resources. That's just not going to happen. But somehow, white men like this are getting up, shouting, saying, "Woe is me," while living in a black country, which is predominantly majority. You're lucky they don't just kill you, because they could, because that's what y'all have done to them. The audacity of these people is it has reached the heaven.
Which is 14 years after the ANC took power in South Africa. So that should tell you a lot in and of itself.
Right. I know the South Africa could possibly, the reason why Trump wants to stop financial aid to them could possibly be because of Israel. I know the parliament there, they voted to cut off ties with Israel. Do you think that could possibly be part of it? Or do you think Trump just really cares about white people?
No, I do not.
Well, of course, Trump cares about white people. We want him to care about white people. That's why we are in agreement with the black Africans kicking y'all out of Africa, because it's time black people care about black people. See, white people, we don't care about y'all caring for one another. You've always cared for one another. That's why you get on cold. When, a black person does something that isn't wrong, when you're in that jury stand, you're going to get on cold and say, you know what, we found him guilty. So we understand and we're okay with Trump, caring for white people. But don't get mad at these Africans over here who are coming together caring for black people. And that's why they are kicking you out of the land. See, that's the problem. You want it one way. If you can have it your way and, get the best benefit for you and yours, why can't black people? It makes no sense. Oh, I guess you thought that we're supposed to just forever walk around with our head held. No, we are not our ancestors. We're not marching.
I wish, and I know that the Americans that voted for Trump wish and hope that he is the man, he's the great white hope, and we all, it's a global phenomenon where white people, even Europeans, look at Trump and say, as this powerful figure, the head of the most powerful state in the world, to alleviate some of the anti-white policy that is taking place in the world. But I am more skewed towards thinking that this is to support Israel. And if you don't mind, Lily, I will make a small comparison. And then we can sort of do a back and forth and you can tell me what you think. Okay. So in the Israel-Palestine conflict, Trump wishes to move the Palestinians out of Gaza. Mm-hmm. In this scenario, whom do you think is the ally to the Trump administration, the Israelis or the Palestinian people?
Absolutely, the Israelis.
So the Israelis are his allies in this, and the people that are not his allies lose their country and get moved out of their country to a different country. Now, right. Apply the same logic to the South African context. We've got the Afrikaner people,
So he's trying to switch that. So he's trying to say, look at what's happening. You got the Israel, the fake Jew who's kicking out Gaza, and then it's the same thing that's happening to them. No, sir. White man, you don't belong in Africa. The Arabs, they've been over there before, the Jews. So that would be considered wrong, what they're doing. What the Africans are doing to you, which is kicking you out of their homeland, it's justified. And I hope they continue to do it until every one of y'all are sent back packing from which you come.
founders, the builders, and the rightful owners of this country being fed or gifted, if you will, the proposition, hey, you can leave South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the ally? Do we really think that the black majority government is the enemy of the Trump administration, or are they actually aiding them in a different way that sidestep conflict? Because forget about what anybody says with regards to the land. The land is an emotional matter. And
Right.
people take the different response, the wrong approach. I apologize. The wrong approach to it when they say we shouldn't be emotional about it. In fact, they try to emotionally disarm us from this. But I think it is time to get emotional. I, for one, am emotional about the land question because it is my land.
You see the audacity of this white man? He's in Africa and he's still saying it's his land. No, sir, it's not your land. It's simple as that. It's not your land. If you retrace and backtrack your history, your land is going to be somewhere in Europe. You know how much suntan lotion you got to put on to even live in Africa for you to say it's your land? No, it's not your land. But he has the audacity to say it's my land. No, it's not your land. That's why they kicking you out.
We are not farming here. We're not living here amidst all the threats. It's the most dangerous occupation in the world to be a South African farmer. We don't do this for financial gains. We've long passed the point where there is any financial incentive for us. It's a matter of blood and soil for us. You know, my forefathers, 7 generations have been farmers, and did they?
So he says his forefathers and your forefathers were thieves, crooks, and robbers and killers, sir. This man is literally talking as if he was born and raised and he's from the soil of South Africa. And he knows he's not.
They pour their entire life, their sweat, and their blood into this soil for us to just give it away. I don't think so. And if the ANC were to attempt to do something like that, I would not be standing alone. There would be bloodshed like you would have never seen. It will be.
You see, that's the thing about white people. You see what he's saying? He's saying he's talking about bloodshed. Now, this white man is saying if it gets worse, we're going to start killing. But that's what you did to get the land. So he's saying to kill, we took the land, and to keep the land, we're going to kill some more. That's what he's saying. That's what he just said. Let's listen to it again.
I, for one, am emotional about the land question because it is my land. We are not farming here. We're not living here amidst all the threats. It's the most dangerous occupation in the world to be a South African farmer. We don't do this for financial gains. We've long passed the point where there is any financial incentive for us. It's a matter of blood and soil for us. You know, my forefathers, 7 generations have been farmers, and did they pour their entire life, their sweat, and their blood into this soil for us to just give it away? I don't think so. And if the ANC were to attempt to do something like that, I would not be standing alone. There would be bloodshed like you would have never seen. It will be an absolute massacre. And contrary to what people think, it will be the white people coming out as the victors of that.
Yeah.
So now he wants to lie to himself. He wants you to believe that in South Africa, if the ANC, the African National, the conference decides to, keep doing what they're doing, which is kicking them out, that it's going to be bloodshed, and that in spite of what most people think, the white people are going to come out. No, sir, you're not going to win. You're not going to win. You're not even going to shed blood. You're going to get up and move and go back to Europe if they decide to take what's rightfully theirs, which is the land. It's their land. You, sir, are a pale-faced man who's from Europe. You're no different than the Jew who's over in Gaza saying, Africa, saying that that land is theirs, that they're native to the land. Your time is up.
Struggle, I do believe. So I think, and I can, give you the reasons why I think this, but I think that the Trump administration wishes to avoid a conflict scenario in South Africa where farmers take up arms to defend their land, and giving them.
Trump could care less about Trump could care less about you farmers. You're poor. He's a businessman. So you think that he's going to speak out on he may speak out, but in terms of writing any policies or trying to really do any, his hands are tied. He can't do anything because you're talking about a country that's getting stronger. You're talking about a country that's coming back to really not doing any business with white people, you know what I'm saying, outside of Russia. See, African nations, they're no longer doing businesses with the West. They're taking their money, they're taking their resources, and they're going to China and they're going to Russia. You know why? Because they say, you know what, at least we can trust them. At least they don't want to see us poor. At least China and Russia is going to come in, you know what I'm saying, with some infrastructure. They're not coming to just take. So we'll do business with these whites instead of, you know what I'm saying, the Western whites. So Trump could care less about what's happening to you, sir. You're poor. So you better just get in line and do what your government, which is ran by black people, do what they say. Otherwise, you're not going to have much of a fight.
And out to America. Because, I mean, nobody really in their heart of hearts wants to fight. Nobody wants conflict. I mean, take this in your personal life. We don't, as good moral white men, we don't like confrontation necessarily, especially alone. There would be bloodshed like you would have never seen. It will be planned. And giving them an out to America, because, I mean, nobody really in their heart of hearts wants to fight. Nobody wants conflict. I mean, take this in your personal life. We don't, as good moral white men, we don't.
I had to replace that or replay that because he said, as good moral, this is his words, as good moral white men. Now he's calling himself a good moral white man, but he's trying to fight against black Africans who are trying to get what belongs to them, who have decided to go get what belongs to them, which is their land. He calls himself a good moral white man, even though he's benefiting and has benefited from his people, his forefathers, robbing, pillaging, raping, and killing for the land that he's trying to say belongs to him. And he declares himself a moral man. Family, I'm almost done. You get the picture.
Like confrontation necessarily, especially in the modern era. So if they are given the option to leave, people might take it. So in Trump's mind, I assume that it seems like the path of least conflict, but he does not know the spirit of and I'm not accusing him of anything, this is just my assumption. But he doesn't know the spirit of my people. My people will stay in this country, and if the ANC dares to take our land, there will be a fight like you have never seen in the history.
It'll be a fight, sir, and you'll lose. Simple as that. You'll lose. You can't win. You can't win. So continue to fight the ANC. Continue to speak, whatever you want to say about your morality. But at the end of the day, it's not your land. It's not your land. Sorry. Not sorry. Family, you've been rocking with TWID. TWID stands for That's What I Do. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, family. Peace.